Well, hello everyone. So I'm the founder of Banter, and Banter is a nonprofit organization based in Hong Kong. And what we do is we work with young people to start conversations about body image and mental health. And we do this through various mediums of expression.
Why do you think it's so important that organizations like Banter and like Onemind exist?
Just like what we were talking about earlier, those different mediums of expression, I think, are very important when it comes to conversations about mental health, because something that I'm realizing more and more in the work that I'm doing is that people might not be, I guess, scared of the conversations per se, or they might not even, feel like these conversations are stigmatized necessarily. But a lot of times people run into the challenge of not knowing how to express what they're trying to say. And I think that the more we can open up avenues, such as, for example, showing people that they can use artwork and photography and prose and poem and dance and all of these different beautiful mediums to share a message that resonates with them, the more people can find these conversations to be accessible. For example, for someone in their recovery journey, the medium of photography could have been very, very powerful. And through showing their journey in that way, a lot of people like photography. And that's what I mean by just using this medium of expression as a channel to show, kind of go inside the lens of a person or kind of step in someone's shoes. So that's why I think the initiatives like Banter and Onemind, where there are these ways of exploring not just different types of stories or specifically content, but also the different avenues and mediums. That's where the power lies.
And you were talking about photography and how that's definitely an avenue a lot of people enjoy and a lot of people love to express themselves through. And that kind of links to social media and our society now. So how do you think social media can negatively affect one's body image?
I did want to talk a little bit about the links between social media and body image, because I think a lot of times we tend to overemphasize the influence of social media. This is not to say that social media doesn't have an impact. It does have a very significant impact. But what I think a lot of people don't necessarily attend to is that there are lots of underlying factors as well that makes a person susceptible to social media influences in the first place. So for example, if those of you who are psych students will have seen the biopsychosocial model, which basically is just a nice way of saying that there are a bunch of things that contribute to our mental health experiences. These stressors will influence a lot of people, but some people will develop more severe symptomatology in response to these stressors. So let's say that someone who's experiencing high school stress, has a lot going on at home, maybe has a biological predisposition to be anxious, has perfectionistic tendencies. Once maybe they see an ad on Instagram, and this ad is linking the food we eat to the sense of self, for example, then they're likely going to be very triggered by this. And that the social media influence can play a significant role in being that tipping point.
So switching from the negative side, how can social media help to destigmatize talks of mental health and body image?
I think that with this, the power of social media is, in essence, it is a neutral tool. It's just a platform, and you can use it for help, to help others and to harm others. And the best part about social media is that messages go, they can transmit very quickly. And this means that, for harmful messages, it can transmit very quickly. And also if you're able to create messages that pick up, and let's say the message is that mental health can be discussed in these very diverse ways, showing people and populating people's feeds with these new ways of talking about mental health, about body image, about various mental health conditions, having more people share their stories on social media, and using these kinds of doing more. And the more people who are trying to send a message, who believe in this message, that social media should be a space that people can share their experiences in a very non-judgmental and welcoming way, the more we can kind of move social media toward being a platform that that nurtures these conversations.
So why do you think it's important for the youth in Hong Kong and young people to hear different perspectives on body image and on mental health as well?
I think it's incredibly important for us to hear these diverse perspectives, because I think ultimately, because human beings are such emotional creatures, and this is undeniable, we will go through emotional fluctuations throughout our lives. We are driven to act when we see ourselves represented. When we feel like the story we read is close to home, hits close to home, makes us feel something, we're more likely to want to engage with it. And it's such a beautiful experience, because then you're like, oh, I feel motivated to make a change, to reflect on something that was within my experience too. And all of us have bodies, all of us have mental health. And so, the more we're able to share those experiences, the more we can relate and resonate with each other.
So specifically, how do you think we can ensure as a generation that we will continue to stay empathetic and understanding to those suffering with body image or mental health issues?
Something that's really important in creating change, or being motivated to stay consistent, as you said, Amelia, in the kinds of change we create or we engage in, is knowing that having a full understanding is not necessary in order to engage with the issue. So I think a lot of times, a lot of people think, well, I don't know enough about what this person is experiencing. I don't know what it's like to have a mental illness. It is a sense of fear. It's kind of like, what if I say the wrong thing to a person with a mental health condition, or what if I can't provide a solution? I think a lot of times, because again, going back to that results-oriented culture, we're constantly feeling like we need to provide a solution in order to be, to have a meaningful conversation. Like, we want to wrap it up nicely with a bow. And I hope that we can, through our initiatives, through Onemind and Body Banter's work, is to show that oftentimes the best thing you can do for someone in a conversation about mental health is just to listen and to be a receptive audience member, and to see, try to understand like as much as you can. But if you don't fully get the experience, that doesn't mean that you aren't also meaningfully engaging with it. Maybe it's something as simple, whatever you can do is something as simple as being like, even commenting on it and being like, that spoke to me, sharing it on your story, liking it. Even great communicators have moments where they don't know what to say. Great communicators are people who are able to see those moments and be like, yeah, I'm just building my communication toolbox, and that's okay. It's part of the journey.
I absolutely agree with that. Well, thank you so much for answering our questions.